Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Today in this video we are going to learn how to set a default values in a pick list field in Salesforce, and we are going to learn this concept for both Salesforce Lightning as well as a classic experience. So now before we will proceed, firstly we will understand what does we mean by default value in Salesforce pick list field. A Salesforce pick list default value are a pre-selected options that are automatically filled. It reduces the need of a manual data entry and also the data entry error. It helps to ensure the data consistency and guarantee the data integrity. Even we can speedily enter the data value in the fields by using this procedure. So now we will proceed and learn to select the default value for a Salesforce Lightning for newly custom created field. So here I open my Salesforce account, and by default I am land on a Lightning experience. If you are not redirected to the Lightning one, first shift to yourself to the Lightning. After that you have to click on the gear icon and then click on the setup option. Once you click on the setup option, it opens up a new tab. Now the next procedure is to click on the object manager tab that is located on your top navigation bar. Once you click on it, it shows you the list of all the objects that are available in Salesforce. Now from it you have to search for the object. Here I search for the order object and it shows me a order label. I click on it. Now it gives me a field and relationship option on the left side. Now it gives me a new button on the right side, as our main agenda is to create a default value for the newly created field. So firstly we will create the newly field in the pick list form, and then we will set a default value. So I click on new. It asks me to choose up the field type that you want to create. So here I click search for the pick list and click on the radio button next to it, and then I click on the next button. So when I click on the next button, it proceeds to the next step. Now here it asks me to enter the field label. Here I enter the field label as a approval status, and then it asks me to set up the values. Either you want to pick up the values from the global pick list or you can enter the manual values. So I choose up with the enter manual value. So here I have noted down some values, so I copy paste it from the notepad, and here each value is separated by a new line. And now as our main agenda is to set up the default value, you can see that under this box we have three different check boxes, and here on the second checkbox we have a option to set it as a default value, but it takes the first value as the default one. So as our first value is a pending, it set up the pending as the default value. So after selecting that, you can see that it automatically fill up the field label field name on the basis of the field label. Now I click on the next button and proceed to the next step. So in the next step, it asks me to choose up the profile to whom you want to grant the edit access of this field. I want to grant to all the profiles, so I simply click on the visible checkbox and click on the next button. Now in the next step, it asks me to choose up the page layout. Already the page layout is selected, so I simply click on the save button to save the procedure. Now to check that whether it is working correctly or not, for this I click on the app launcher given on the left side. The app launcher is a 9 dots. Now from here I search for the order, and here I get the orders item, and when I click on it, it redirects to the orders page. Now I click for the new option or a new button that is given on the right top side. So here I click on the new. It open up the pop-up for creating up a new record. So when I scroll, you can see that it creates a approval status picklist field, and by default pending value is. So with this we have learned to set a default value for a newly created custom picklist field in Salesforce Lightning. Now we will learn to set up the default value for the already created field. So let's open one new tab, click on the gear icon and click on the setup option. So now click on the object manager that is given on the top navigation bar. So when you click on the object manager, it opens up the list for the all object. Now this time I'm going to show you the example with the help of a lead object. So I search for the lead and click on the lead. Once I open it, it shows me a field and relationship option on the left side. So when I click on it, it opens up the all the fields that are created in the lead. So now this time I search for the picklist field type to whom I want to set up the default value. So here I decided to set up the default value for the pronouns picklist. So here I have a pronouns. So I click on the pronouns. It open up the pronouns in the editable mode. So now I scroll down and here it has a section of a pronouns picklist value. So here you can see that I want to set the she and they value as a default one. So I click on the edit option given next to it. So when I click on it, it open up the pronouns value and here I have an option of a default to make this value as a default for the master pick list. So I click on this checkbox and click on the save button to finally save it. So with this, we have successfully learned to set up the default value for already created picklist field in Salesforce Lightning 2. Now we will learn how to set up the default value for the newly created field, or you can say a newly created picklist field in Salesforce Classic. So for this, firstly we need to shift to the Salesforce Classic. So I click on the profile and click on the button switch to a Salesforce Classic. Now it's redirect me to the next page and here I am on the classic interface. Now I click on the setup option given on the top. Now from this setup option, I scroll down to the build section given on the left side and from this here I click on the customize drop down. Now from here you have to choose up the object for whom you want to set up the default value. This time I choose up the contracts and under this I have a field option, so I click on that. Now I scroll down and move to the contract custom field and relationship section and here I click on the new option as we are going to create up a new custom field and then going to set up the default value. And from this data type I choose up the picklist option from by clicking on the radio button. Then I click on the next option and on the next page I fill up the field label as a contract type. Now you have to click on the enter values with each value separated by the new value for entering up the value manually, and each value must be separated by the new line. So here I pasted some of the values and to make it a default here I check the checkbox use the first value as the default one and then I click on the next button to proceed to the next step. So now it's asked me to set up the field level security for this field. So it means to whom profiles you want to grant the edit access. So I want to grant the edit access of this field to all the profiles. So I simply click on the visible checkbox and move to the next step by clicking on the next button. And in this step we have to choose the page layout. The page layout is already selected. So I simply click on the save button. So once I click on the save button, it successfully created up the new picklist field with the default value. Now it's time to check whether it is working or not. So I simply click on the plus icon given on that navigation bar and from here I search for the contracts. So here I open up the contracts object and here I click on the new button. So when I click on the new button, it shows you a contract type and it sets the first value as a default one. You can see that. So with this we have successfully learned how to set up the default value for the newly created custom picklist field in Salesforce Lightning. Now we will learn how to set up a default value for a pre-built custom field. So for this I again click on the setup option given on the top bar and from here I scroll down to the build section and I click on the customize drop down. Now from this customize drop down it's time to choose up the object for which you want to set up the default value. So here I am going to show you the example of the context. So I click on the context object and I click on the field option. So once I click on the field option, I get the list of all the custom and the built-in fields that are in the contact object. So now it's time to choose up the picklist field in which you want to set up the default value. So here I choose up the gender identity picklist field. So here I click on it. It open up the gender identity page. Now I scroll down to gender identity picklist value section and here I decided to set it as a female. So I click on the edit button given next to the female and from here I choose up the default value checkbox, make this value as a default for the master pick list and click on the save button. So it successfully set up the female as a default value. You can see that it set a tick in the default box of the female field. So with this we have successfully learned to set a default value for a pre-built custom pick list field in Salesforce Classic. So with this we have completed our 2-day session and learned to set up a default value for both newly created and the pre-built custom fields in both Salesforce Lightning and a Classic experience. If you like this video, click on the like button and also subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. Thanking you for watching and have a great day.